Join us, the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast, on a journey where we delve into the heart of the matters that truly make a difference. Our mission is to create a platform where we can openly discuss topics that often go unnoticed or unexplored. We aim to shed light on these crucial issues and have meaningful conversations. We invite you to tune into our podcast, where we will explore the depths of these subjects and let our hearts guide the conversation. Together, we can create a space where everyone's voice is heard and where we can collectively work towards a better future. Welcome, everyone, to the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. I'm your host, Nia Imani, and I have the pleasure of interviewing the GOAT, my brother, period, Mike Cook.
What's up, sis? I appreciate it.
I'm so proud of you.
No, I'm proud of you. I mean, for me to be able to come on your platform and share my story, this is big time for me.
What's wild about this is people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I know his story." Let me just, I'm gonna just get into his bio and everything. But Mike is so humble, but people know Mike Cook. I remember just saying like, "Oh, who are your brothers?" And I'd be like, "Jared and Mike Cook," and people be so hyped. Can I get his autograph? Calm down. Because everybody listen to this. I know you already know him, but I'm gonna just say it, just to say it. My brother, Mike Cook, listen, is a Pitt graduate who transitioned from a successful basketball career in the NBA D-League. And what'd you say, FIBA? Y'all know I don't know.
FIBA, you got it. FIBA Asia, FIBA Europe.
Woo! To become a prominent figure in the realms of admissions, athletics, and consultancy. Following his time on the court, Mike has dedicated nearly a decade to contributing his expertise to admissions and athletics. Drawing upon his wealth of experience, this great man established himself as the founder and CEO of Cook Expert Consulting, where he continues to provide invaluable insights and guidance to individuals and organizations alike. His journey exemplifies a seamless, and that's bold, italicized, okay, transition from sports to entrepreneurship, showcasing his adaptability, leadership, and commitment to excellence.
That's a word right there.
And that wasn't ChatGPT. That's his life. Okay? Brother, what made you go from a phenomenal all-star basketball player to wanting to help others? How did that go into your head? What was that transition? Why?
First off, thank you for that intro. That was, I didn't deserve that, but I appreciate it. I think, it's sort of like the family business. And I think what I did, I just picked up where, my parents, my uncles, my aunts all left off, to be honest with you. I think we are talking about different generations of people, different lineages. It's our job, me, just speaking of your brother, me, Jared, and who you had on the last episode, we always talk about, our generation is a generation that sort of figured it out, but our kids are the ones that are going to have it all together. So I think that I just picked up on what they did, right? My mom has been doing community service for years. My uncle Wright, who was a prominent figure down the bottom. My aunt worked for the city of Philadelphia for a long time. So service has always been a part of my family. And then going to a school like Friends Central, Quakerism and just their philosophies around community and service. It's sort of like a full circle moment, but it's something I didn't expect myself to be doing. But now that I'm doing it, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is what I sort of picked up along the way.
That's dope. What did you expect yourself to be doing?
I mean, me, like I was all about basketball. I thought I would be in the NBA. At this point, retired and coaching somewhere. I tried coaching for a long time. I was an assistant coach for a while at Friend Central. That allowed me flexibility to sort of do my admissions work, do something that I love, but also, build my second life, so to speak, after I retired from playing basketball. Um, so I thought that would just be my path. I would be in college one day or maybe the pros. But the more I did admissions work, the more I realized that there are a lot of families that are like me that when they go through that process, regardless of their financial bracket or, social economical demographic, they just don't know. And I felt like that's where, like you said, people, especially in the Philadelphia area, they don't know me, they know of me. So I felt like my words could be impactful in this space because I felt like, people trust me when I speak to
Period, because you're the goat. I mean,
them.
how is that transition? Like, I being you're a pro basketball player.
Mhm.
How was that transition from being a pro, and you'll always be a pro, to admissions and teaching other people? Like, is that a hard transition normally for pros to go from playing on the court to now
Yeah.
in my next chapter? How was that transition for you? Is that hard?
It was hard. I think it would have been harder if I didn't get hurt my senior year in college, to be honest with you. I think I had a head start on preparing for this, right? I knew that, the dreams of being a multimillionaire and not having to work for the rest of my life wasn't a thing. So I got a head start on preparing for it. But once you get into it, this is what I try to tell, a lot of my peers, but also a lot of the younger athletes that I'm mentoring. You've already picked up those skills along the way, right? I've been marketing myself since I was 14. I went through job interviews when trying to get a scholarship to college, right? I've built a reference list. I've done all the things, and then just competing, right? You're competing for your survival. You're competing for that scholarship. You're competing for that NBA contract. So I may not have played at the highest level for whatever reason, but I trained my mind, my body, my spirit for the highest level. And I think a lot of those intangibles just carry over to whatever I'm deciding to do outside of the game.
Yeah, and I think I gotta check you. You did play at the highest level. Like, don't people don't want just anybody's autograph. Like, what? Like, they want to
I
put on
appreciate you.
eBay and all this other stuff. Like, what? You did. But I hear you. And it's
I
so dope
appreciate
that,
that.
of course, it's so dope that you mentor others too, because, our brother always talks about this. He was watching you play, you got injured, So,
Yep.
but you were still able to pivot. You were still able to play at the highest level. How are you able to tell these young men, like, yes, you can aspire to here, but learn how to pivot too, and you still can make it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so one thing I always tell them is that, a big reason why myself and a lot of us athletes, former athletes, don't want to get into coaching sometimes is because we don't want to deal with the egos that we had, that we know the other players are going to have now. Um, so one of the first things that I try to say is that you're not going to out ego me, right? Everything that you're trying to do, I've already done. I was nominated for McDonald's All American game, not McDonald's All American. I was top 30 in the country.
In the
Played a
country?
high level, yeah, played a high level Division 1.
Oh, rewind, because you're gonna say that top what in the what?
Yeah, yeah, I was top 30 in the country going into college. So I try to just, there was a time where I was marketing those things, right? To get a scholarship, to get in the league, to get to invited to a camp. Now I'm using those things not for bragging rights, but to say, one, you can trust me, but two, you kind of have to check yourself when I am telling you things and you're trying to fight back against me. I'm not saying I'm always right, but a lot of the things that I'm telling young athletes is the right thing. And I'm going to always have their backs. I'm going to always be real with them. I'm going to always encourage them. But it's tough working with me. Like I've done it at a high level, and I want to prepare them to reach the highest level athletically or within their careers, whatever they try to do after college, after the ball stops.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just made me think about this too. Like you said, it's tough working with you, but you're impactful. You on their team. Like I'm not, listen, I want you to win, right? And
Right.
I'm like getting emotional. It makes me think of your dad. And there's one particular story you told me where either, either you did a good job or not, and everybody was like kind of praising you. And he was like, "Well, you didn't do this." Like, you
Yeah.
know, you
Oh,
never.
that's my favorite story about pop. It was like that was the if there was ever a definition of our relationship, that was it. So I'll make a long story short. And it's funny, my cousins always tease me when I tell a story. Like I always find a way to throw my stats out there. But I have to throw my stats out there to let
Do it.
people know how ridiculous he was being, right? So it's my freshman year. We were playing the best team in the league. I think they had about three or four Division One players on their team. They were older juniors and seniors. Um, so I sent the game. I think I sent the game to overtime. I forgot what it was, but anyway, there was the one play at the end of the game. We were on the opposite side of our basket. My man Rob Crowder was no, somebody was inbounding the ball. They had three people on me. And I mean, I'm busting my behind to get open, right? I'm pushing people. I'm doing everything I can. They end up throwing the ball. I think the Rob Crowder roof at half court. He shot a half court shot and missed it, right? So the stats of the game was I was a freshman. I was 14 years old. I had 41 points, 20 rebounds, and like 6 or 9 assists. Something crazy.
Oh,
So I'm already feeling bad about the loss and whatever the case may be. So, I come out of the locker room after the speech, after the game, and all of my peers are saying, "Good job, good game." Coach is shaking my hand, everything, and I finally get to my dad, and I'm expecting like, "Oh man, it's a tough one. I'm proud of you." Well, I don't know why I expected that, but he was like, "You couldn't get open on that last play." But the lesson was, so he was like, you don't ever put your teammates in that position again. If you felt like you gave 90 or 100%, you give 110% to get open, right? So he was basically preparing, and it's a lot of what I'm doing now, right? Just using those moments within the game to everyone else is going to praise me, right? And my dad was always that balance between that, right? After the words, he said, "Good game," and you had a good floor game, whatever the case may be. But in that moment where if I wanted to have a big head or if I wanted to be, have a crazy ego, he just put a halt to it and kept me focused on like, yes, you had a good game. The goal is always the championship. Or yes, you had a good game. The goal is always the NBA, right? And those are the little things that, separate people. So, you know, Kobe had just went to the league the year before that. And the big thing with him was like, yo, Kobe would have got open, right? He always pressed Kobe or like a John Salmons, Katino Moore, right? He always pressed those guys or always compared me to those guys. So, I love to tell that story because that was our relationship, even going through college, through the pros. If I had my first year in England, if I had 20 points, he would say, "What happened?" That's horrible. I was like, this guy is ridiculous. But you just need someone holding you up to that high standard. Honestly, that's why this transition for me was not only important, but like you said, it was seamless because I always had high expectations for myself. I never really got too high, got too low. I was always just kept it pushing. So whatever I had to do to keep it pushing, I just went for it.
yeah. Yeah. And in those moments too, like I feel like some people just think, oh, it's just basketball, but this is life. He taught you life. Like that was a
Right.
life lesson.
Yeah, no, I tell everyone I had a father, man. Like I mean, a dad, a father, whatever you want to call it. And he wasn't just teaching me those lessons; he was teaching everyone those lessons. I remember when he passed, and the amount of teammates that reached out to me that I haven't spoken to in years, probably a decade, just reached out to me and was like, "One, I'm sorry I couldn't be at the funeral. Like, so some of them were across the world." But they were just telling me how much my dad meant to them. And these are people that went off to do great things, right? In the world of sports or business, career wise, whatever the case may be. My dad worked at the post office, right? He wasn't this rich man that had all this influence, but he made such a huge impact in his little bit of time, here on earth. He died at 52. So that's just my goal, right? That's my blueprint, So is if I could be half of that, I would say that I did a pretty good job.
Oh, gosh, yes. First of all, that story's hilarious.
He is crazy.
But but that's what you give your guys, right? Like you're going
Yeah.
to be their biggest fan, but also their biggest critic, and that's what you need. That's what they need, right?
Yeah, yeah, you need that balance. I think because I'll also tell them like, listen, you have to have the biggest ego on the court. When
Mm,
you're off the court, you could be the nicest person in the world, right? But on the court, that person that you're guarding, the person that is guarding you, right? You could be competing for the same spot at the next level, right? You could be competing for the same job one day, the same sponsor one day, whatever the case may be. So I just try to give them that mindset, that confidence to sort of in this realm, it's okay to have ego because you need it to survive off the court, outside the job. You could be the nicest person that you want to be, and it also teaches them how to turn it on and off too at a young age. So again, just trying to give them tools. This is all the things I didn't have it figured out their age, but also didn't have anyone, outside of my dad and a couple other people, teaching me those lessons.
mm, yeah. Whew. And then I'm thinking, like, is there anything that you had to unlearn, or like, is there a difference between being a player and an entrepreneur and an owner? And is it the same thing, or did you have to unlearn
Mhm.
some things? Like, can you have ego and being, the CEO and founder too?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. I think one thing that I had to unlearn was um, in basketball, if my team needs a point, my team needs to stop. I can pretty much control that, right? I know I want to have the balls at some point. My guy gets the ball, I can stop them. In the business world, you just have to learn how to accept no's, or something's going to go wrong. You don't have control over everything as much. I mean, I guess you don't have control over things in sports either, but it's more prevalent in the business world. So that's probably the biggest thing. And it's not all about just being super aggressive, going, going, going. As smart and strategic as I thought I was in the court, you have to be even more in this world, right? You can't just say, I have a great idea. Let me send this to this person, right? You have to say, I have 10 great ideas. Let me not only send it to them, but let me write it out, show them how they can work, show them how the next 3 to 5 years will work, right? You have to do all the work so that when they're reading it, all they have to do is read it and just say, okay, you get what I'm saying? So, um, again, just I took a lot of lumps. This is my first. Not this is my first, but I took a lot of lumps in my first year, especially my first couple months. Um, but starting to figure out, let go of a little bit of ego, um, in that space, but also just accepting the no's as a learning lesson too. So they have to let go of too much because, like I said, a lot of things translate, but I think just slowing down a little bit is probably the best thing that I've learned.
Mm, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And it's making me excited. Like I want to be back in high school or college, and you telling me what to do. I want to be in the league. Period. Like I want to let me go to Pitt and play. Let me be Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. You know, are you kidding me? Like, how do people like? Okay, tell us what the process is like. Okay, so we go on Cook Expert Consulting, right? What
Hmm.
what are we then looking for? Because we need all the help. So specifically,
Hmm.
what can you help us with, and how can we work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you go to cookexpertconsulting.com, and we have different for different things that we do, right? So we have workshops coming up for the application process in September. You can register for those. We have a whole page for our student athlete mentorship program. You can do hourly sessions, or you can do like a monthly subscription. The monthly subscription is you have full access to me, have my cell phone number, but more importantly, I break down game film for you, right? So if you have like a Baller TV account, or some people are still using Huddle, I'll go into your account and you may wake up the next morning with like 30, 40 clips of game film that I've broken down for you. And then we talk about it. We meet on Zoom and we talk about it. Um, and we do, and probably I'm not gonna say the most important thing, but the thing that the company was founded on is our admissions process support, right? I can't I can't tell you which school to go to, right? That's up to you and your family. That's your final decision. But what I can do is I can coach you through the process, right? So I give you this game plan. I'm there with you along the way. If you have any questions about anything, I basically become your own personal admissions counselor, right? And it's not just because, I'm looking for a profit or I know better than you. It's just because people need help,
Yeah.
right? People need help. Whether you're you know, super busy with work and you don't have time to do the application, right? I could give you a head start, say this is everything you could do, pick a Saturday, get it done that Saturday, right? So I'm also an accountability coach as well. I'm checking in, making sure you're sticking to deadlines, making sure that you know everything that you need to know. And for a huge majority of our population, same way that I do with my athletes, I'm telling you straight up, like, don't let the price of private school deter you,
Sure.
right? You can afford private school. There's need-based tuition assistance or financial aid, whatever you want to call it, and they'll meet you at your financial need, right? I feel like a lot of people just throw away the idea of private independent schools, and they're missing this huge opportunity for their students. When you have the opportunity to send them to a school, just going to give them a different experience. And the reason why you're not doing that is because of a price tag that doesn't even really exist for everyone. So again, it's just a lot of education around private school, what the process is, your your expectations versus the reality of the situation, and just giving people everything they need to step into everything with confidence. So we offer a ton of things, and then we're also working with some schools or organizations to help them um, build up their institutions in a way, right? So again, I can't go in and say, but I can offer what I know, right? So if you call me, you have a question, I can say, okay, this is what I think will help with that. Um, Now, if someone wants me to come in and say,
That's
come in and take over this entire thing, reach out to us. But right now, I'm just at a point where, the most valuable things you can give anyone is information and access. And that's what I'm trying to pour into people as much as possible.
Do people need to give you $1 billion for this service? Because I'm just a pro.
Uh-huh.
I can
Hmm.
get your personal and when I wake, you going
Yeah.
to like I just it's like I what? And then
Yeah.
the emissions is huge because I feel like even though we had a great family, we didn't know what nobody knew. Nobody
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
you think Narda had time to go nobody had
Yeah.
time, nobody had the patience. Everybody's work.
Right.
It's a lot. So for you to be there, that's
Hmm.
a game changer.
Yeah. 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 And that's how I want to look at it too, right? I know that, I get talked about sometimes as being humble, but I feel like there's sometimes where I can't be humble. And I
Yeah.
think being humble has not only hurt myself in the past, but also hurt other people that I can help. So if there's something that I know or something that I feel like I'm an expert about, I want to tell you, and I'm going to sort of make you listen to me by proof of concept,
Yeah.
right? And just giving you different things, different tips to sort of not only get through the process, but feel comfortable as you're going through the process or as you're applying to colleges as a young athlete, whatever the case may be. So yeah, just try to be as pro as I can be.
That is just it's a no brainer. And it's I feel like a lot of people when they have businesses, they have no clue, no shade, but I'm just being honest, no clue what they're talking about, right? They don't have
Hmm.
the experience. Maybe they just thought it was a great idea. Cool. But I'm pretty sure you came out the womb with the basketball, with entrepreneurship, with education.
Yeah.
So you have so much wisdom and knowledge and expertise. Like, are you kidding me?
I
Every
appreciate that.
realm. So who wouldn't want to listen to you?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's up to me to get the message out there, right? I'm never going to blame others for not receiving what I'm saying, or not, I don't know, visiting the website. I just push myself to work a little harder to get the message out there and take a few more meetings, whatever the case may be, because it's important. It's important messaging. Education is important. It's done a lot for me. Like I said, when I got hurt,
Mhm.
of course, I was sad. I was upset. I had that moment where I felt like I don't know what the heck I want to do. But I was graduating that spring from college. I had a private school diploma. Right, I just had different things in my arsenal, but I also had a support system around me. Right, so those are the things that have worked for me. And I was a stubborn. You couldn't tell me that basketball wasn't going to be my thing. Right, I was as stubborn as they come. So if it could work for me, it could work for a lot of these kids that are more talented and gifted than me, in different ways.
What have the families said? Because I know they're saying stuff. Um, where you've helped them. Like, what is that feedback? Like, what have they been saying?
I think the most fulfilling thing for me, was that people tell me that I care.
Mm,
Right, I'm not just throwing information at them, and just letting it go by the wayside. Right, it's like that accountability portion of it, right? Where I'm holding them accountable. And honestly, parents could care less if I care about them, right? They just want their most prized possession taken care of, and that's their child. And it's not even a thing that I'm doing strategically like I genuinely care about people. I have two daughters of my own. I just care about kids. I care about this next generation, regardless of skin color, the amount of money that whatever the case may be, right? I just care about people in general. And what better way to take care of people than through education, than through access, than through information, than through sports, right? What better way to take care of people than in that way? When I'm from West Philly, I live in Darby. I went to a private school. Right. I just have such a diverse background, that I feel like I can connect to different people from different walks of life. So that's my responsibility.
absolutely. And having a game plan and learning how
Hmm.
to pivot, that's a huge lesson to teach
Hmm.
others.
Yeah, yeah, it's probably the most important thing, right? I mean, when you look at a lot of pro athletes today, even if you go to the NBA, they're doing a lot of their pivoting right now,
Mhm.
right? They're realizing that, obviously LeBron, Steph, they're gonna play forever, right? They can play it to their 40. The game won't retire them. But for the average player, you're out of there in 5 years, right? The contracts are so big now that it's sort of embarrassing if you go broke. So and I think a lot of players are taking that. I think a lot of athletes are taking that to heart. Like, I'm going to be embarrassed if I lose all this money. Someone help me, or I have this idea. Let me just go. Right. They're taking more risks. And honestly, a lot of it is in service, right? In a form of service in some way. So I think that, like I said, this generation is sort of figuring out. You're figuring out. You have like 8 businesses going on, right? We're all just figuring it out, and it had a lot to do with the generation before us pushing us in a certain way and prepping us in a certain way. So now we're able to add more education on those lessons and pick up where they left off.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's so wild too. Like, you're gonna say that about me, sure, whatever. But you didn't preach to me. You just did you. And I think
Hmm.
it's important to obviously talk and say, you need to do this and that. But it was the way you lived your life, the way you live your life. It's like, oh, that makes sense. And that, you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
you're that impactful, so that's why everybody keeps coming up to you like, oh, I want your autograph, or yes, I'm going to listen to you, and this is why I'm going to enroll my child, because yes, you talk a great game, and it's not a game, like, what
Yeah.
you're doing, but it's the way that you have lived your life and are living your life as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, the reason why I appreciate that so much is that a lot of it was intentional. I think at a certain point, I started preparing for. So my dad used to always break my life down in decades.
Hmm.
He used to be like, "Man, you're gonna be 20 soon. You're gonna be 30 soon, right?" And it was always little things to sort of figure out, right? You're gonna be 30 soon. How come you don't have three suits, right? It was just it was just little stuff like that that he helped me figure it out. So I was started thinking like, all right, how do I want the world to see me? How do
Yeah.
I want my future children to see me, right? So if you look at, my social media, I don't cuss, I don't post hateful things, I don't cuss, right? Whatever I say outside of that, it's not for the public,
Right.
right? And I'm not a big cusser or I
Yeah, that's
don't
not true.
talk dirty about people anyway. Um, but how people see me is important to me, right? Not because I care about what everyone thinks, but because I can control how people see me, right? So if someone sees me in this way because of something that I posted, because of something that I said, that's something that I could have controlled. So I think just having that, and again, this is why I appreciate you saying that. A lot of things were done intentionally. Like I cared about how my kids would look at me when I was 25 years old before I even thought about having kids, right? I cared about how my dad, my mom, my brothers, right? I love my brothers to death. They all looked up to me. So that was a huge responsibility for me, how you would look at me and Jared, right? I just care about how the people around me. And if there's something that I can control, I need to take control of that and control that view that people have. So that's just how I did it. That's how I try to give the game to the next generation. You don't have to press send on everything. Think
Mm,
about it.
mm,
But also social media isn't just social media, it's your brand,
wow.
right? Carry your brand through your adulthood with you through your adulthood.
He said you don't have what you say, think before you press it. That was a hashtag, that was a book title. What that was deep. That's so true. And you're
Yeah.
teaching them emotional intelligence.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it takes a lot for something to get posted, right? And the reason why I'm leaning on social media is because everything revolves around it. It's our news now, it's our media, it's everything, right? So everything can be avoided, right? Especially when you're talking about branding yourself in a certain way. But these kids, they don't go out to parties, they don't go out to the mall and talk to each other anymore. This is how they communicate, right? So you can be as fake as you want to be on social media. If you want to do that in a negative way, that's your prerogative. I'm going to encourage you to do that in a positive way, especially when I know your parents, I know what your goals are, because that's how important social media is, regardless of how us old people want to think about it, right? It's very important. Um, I've seen people make millions of dollars off of social media. I've seen people gain scholarships to colleges off of social media. I've seen coaches say, I'm not taking that kid because of social media. Right. So it's just it matters. It's important. It's a representation of you. And something as simple as you don't have to press send, it has been pretty impactful to a lot of people. And that's what I was saying in the beginning. Like I know that when I say certain things, it's going to be impactful in a way. So I'm very careful about what I say, who I say it to, and when I say it. So that's just something that I've always taken upon myself.
See, y'all, Mike cooked it and just dropped points. Drop gems. What? Like, and then so you're not just a basketball player, you're an athlete. Do you also help other athletes? Does it have to be under the umbrella of basketball or is it athletes?
It's athletes in general. I mean, basketball players are naturally attracted to me and their
Yeah.
families. A lot of their parents may have seen me play or are competing against them. We have these long-lasting relationships. But all athletes, right? I did a lot of work with athletes, at Friend Central, right? I'm still at Friend Central, but I do a lot of work with athletes there as well. So, and it's a lot of it is the same, right? You're going to feel the same pressure on the soccer field you feel on the basketball field. For the most part, the recruitment process is the same, right? There may be different, like in soccer, it's all about showcases, whatever the case may be. But I'm the mental side of it is all the same, right? The thinking about schools and colleges is all the same, right? But also, more importantly, being there for parents
Yeah.
in a way. right? When these kids are making these crazy decisions based on whatever the case may be, how do you manage that as a parent? You know what I mean? How do you continually not put your expectations on your kid, right? I had a discussion the other day where a parent may have an expectation of a kid playing Division 1 athletics. That kid is in practice every day, on the bus, during the games. That kid may come to a realization, like I did at one point, but in a different way, that I'm a Division 3 player, and I'm okay with that because I know that I'm not better than these players, right? Regardless of the sport. If that parent is constantly complaining to the coach, whoever, my son's a Division 1 player, my daughter's a Division 1 player, they deserve this, they deserve that. How do you think that make that kid feel, right? When they finally came to the realization that, okay, I'm happy in this, and now my hero is still saying I'm something that I'm not,
Wow.
right?
Mhm.
So just sort of trying to counsel parents on their language, how they're handling their children, how they're communicating to their children, and like I said, like if you're a parent, your kid's going to always, just going back to what you were saying, going to always want your autograph,
Yeah.
right? They're going to, you're their hero. They're going to hang on to every word and not going to want to disappoint you. So you have to be accountable for your words and how you're sort of um, demanding things on behalf of your child because they're listening. So it's complicated, but it's definitely necessary, that counseling on both sides.
I know people like, how can we reach out to him? Because you need to come to every school, every university, because you also are that, what is that? That middleman, like, that middleman for that conversation to happen between universities and schools and
Yeah.
parents, students, and it's just so much.
Yeah, yeah, that's the ultimate goal. I mean, so if anyone wants to reach out to me, you can email me, Mike at cookexpertconsulting.com. You can call or text 267-269-1586, or you can find me on social media, Cook Expert Consulting. Um, but yeah, I'm thankful. I just wrapped up a new partnership. I just have a new partnership with Pitt. So, when you're talking about making an impact somewhere on a basketball court and being able to do something in the admissions world, in the college admissions world, in partnership with the university that you love and adore, I've just been blessed, but a lot of things have been intentional. So I just want to give as much people as much game as possible. And hopefully, I took what my mom and dad did and my uncles and my aunts and took it to another level. I'm hoping that they can do the same thing with everything that I'm trying to give to them.
Who raised you?
A lot of people.
And it's so dope because some people don't know what West Philly is. Like, from you to come from West Philly
Mhm,
to travel the world doing something that
mhm,
you love, to
mhm.
like, you are literally like your ancestors' wildest dreams. Like, do you ever think about that?
No, but honestly, like I hope that I do think about that one day and appreciate that one day. That's something that I really struggle with. I struggle with um, just being content with everything that I've done at the moment. I thought it would stop once I stopped playing basketball, but it hasn't. So I'm working on that. I'm trying to be more appreciative of everything that I'm doing. I think people like you help me. Always tell people I appreciate people that, and not even being arrogant, that remind me of who I am
Sure.
because I do a great job of sort of forgetting in a way. So I definitely appreciate you and people, that I surrounded myself like you. But no, I don't think about it too much, but I will start.
Yeah, for the listeners that don't know what even that means, West Philly, yeah, you can Google it, but it's not I don't know, I'm trying to think of the most luxurious place. I just can't,
It wasn't, listen, I was on 61st and Spruce for the first 10 years of my life. It was me, it was my grandmother's house. She died when I was 7, but it was me and my family, aunts. uncles, cousins. It was like 5 or 6 families in one house, and we all made it work. But I remember, and just going back to my mom and dad, I remember my dad who went to Bryan Elementary was like, I want better for my son. So we used to drive from West Philly to Darby every day to go to Walnut, right? I think at this time my mom was living out there. Um, and to them, that was better, right? I was still fighting every day and getting in trouble, but it was a better situation. So just that attempt to do something better for your children is something that I just carry with me to this very day. And eventually we moved to Darby. It's a great place. I love growing up out there. I love everything about it. I love all my friends that I made. But no, West Philly, Darby, it's different. It was different growing up. Um, so we had to overcome a lot, which is why a lot of things that hit me now, they just roll over right off my shoulders.
Yeah. And to everybody that's listening who is definitely going to hit you up, cook expert consulting, and everybody, it just proves how you are the best to walk them through every process. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not knocking anybody that hasn't been through anything, but you have been through the things that they could relate to at any level.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
said, regardless of religion, color, whatever, like you are relatable, and that's huge.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I try, I try. I think that a lot of people that have been through some of the things I've been through, would have just given up, right? Like I also do a lot of things that I do for, the athletes that did get hurt or had lifing, right? And they sort of gave up in a moment. It just didn't catch up, right? So I'm responsible to them as well, right? I'm responsible because I know a lot of them. I've heard their stories. I looked up to them at one point, so I'm responsible to them too. So um, it's a lot of my like Danny Rump's tournament is coming up soon. My roommate on the road during AAU. I carry a huge load for him. Ever since he passed away, I made a personal promise to myself and my dad. So, there's a lot of people that I sort of keep going for. Um, so, it's just a responsibility that I love to have on my shoulders, and I think that I'm built for it. So I'm gonna keep trying to do a good job representing people the right way.
You do it. Well, let me just tell you, if you don't, so this is your assignment, everybody. Number one, okay, contact Mike. And we're going to say it again, cookexpertconsulting.com.
.com.
Okay. Then after you do that, you need to then tell 3 people to do the same. And then tell those 3 people to do the same, because the math is now mathing, right?
That's
That's
right.
what needs to happen because you have a CEO, founder who actually has been through it all, actually cares. Like this ain't no AI. Like he cares. Okay. And is doing a phenomenal job. And this is something that literally is, Mike, you could be charging people $1 billion. Let's just be honest. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? But
yeah.
and you're kind enough not to charge them $1 billion.
Of course, of
You
course.
are impacting lives. You've impacted lives on the court, and you're still doing that as well. And you're
Yeah.
lives too.
I appreciate that, sis. I appreciate that. Yeah. No, we have tier pricing. We try to make it work for you and your family. I thought that was big for us to do that, the tier pricing levels. And that's across the board. Our workshops are $25 to attend, right? We try to just make everything very affordable, right? You're getting thousands and millions of dollars worth of gems, and you don't have to come out your pockets a tremendous amount. Um, so any financial situation that you're in, I'll work with you. But we try to structure it in a way that's equitable for all.
He said equitable. That's how you know this man went to Pitt. He said education was key, and through this entire interview, y'all heard his words. So, period. What? Y'all heard the you heard the assignment. I'm gonna say this, brother. Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate you having me.
And we're ending with, everybody, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on the platform, let's close your eyes. CookExpertConsulting.com.
Love it.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. Remember, each conversation brings us closer to a world where compassion thrives. Stay connected, stay informed, and let's keep the heartbeat of humanity alive. Subscribe, share, and be a part of our journey to make a difference, one conversation at a time. Until next time, keep your hearts open, your minds curious, be a blessing to others, and give agape love. God bless.